In this video, sponsored by the makers of Call of Dragons, we're going to review the upcoming migration, which will be available in just 5 days, or technically a little bit less. And with me is one of the leaders of the Blood fam. We've got Voltari on the line. Hello, sir, and welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me, Chis. I'm excited to talk about everyone's favorite topic, migration.
Migration. You actually can't see our power right behind me here, but we're almost 16 billion, which is really crazy. So let's talk a little bit about the two types of migration that are they're not going to be in the game at the exact same time, I think, but we'll talk about this a little bit. But like up to this moment in time, you could migrate within the different kingdoms that are in a season with you. Right? And it just costs like 5,000 gems. We've done this a number of times to sort of strategically bring lots of players to a kingdom that was low population so we could kind of grow season over season. That sound right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a really unique experience because you could have basically whole alliances migrating every season to a new server to try and continually drop dead weight. And you could have continuously people following you because you basically had no control over who was going where at the time.
And that's what you had to do. Like, that was very much the meta. Like, if you wanted to be top tier, you did this. And as far as migration costs go, you know, I'm used to Rise of Kingdoms, where you have to buy a bunch of passports and it's much more expensive to migrate. Which brings us to the Homerealm. So for the Homerealm migration, I mean, in just 5 days, we're gonna have a home kingdom, right?
Yeah, yep. We're counting down the last part of our season here. And currently we're at just over 4 days and 5 hours until we hit the home kingdom.
That's so crazy. So we get to home kingdom, and once we're there, a bunch of things will be true. One of those things is that we'll be able to manage migration into our kingdom and have some amount of control, I believe, over who is coming. Does that sound right?
Yeah. So once we capture the dragon back in our new home realms, the High Kings will have the power to limit the total power for migration and control what level of power people can freely enter the kingdom at, as well as getting some limited special slots, one per month, that we can basically use to break any of the rules for migration that the game has.
So in order to actually migrate into a kingdom, in the new view of the world, it will not be the 5,000 gems that it once was. In fact, 5,000 gems, I think, is going to seem relatively cheap compared to what it costs to migrate globally. And if I make my way over to the great value bundles, scroll to the right, the glorious journey is what I need to get if I'm higher power in order to do one of these migrations. Does that sound right?
Yep. So everyone received 5 migration permits for free from the developers, as well as you can get your migrations through the weekly shop for 1 a week. But for any player relatively in the higher power, we're talking well into T5 and like the 70, 80, 90 million range upwards, you're definitely going to be dipping into the glorious bundle if you want to be migrating in the immediate future.
So this bundle will give you the passports you need to migrate, but to do that, it takes, depending on your power level, you need more of these permits, right? At the upper end of things, we were talking a little bit earlier, the maximum number is 60 permits.
Yep. So essentially, once you hit 100 million power all the way up to 800 million power, it is going to be 60 permits for you to migrate.
Okay, wait, is there more permits required if you're over 800 million power?
No, there's not yet. So Nephisto is still good to go there.
Okay. That was just an example of up to 800 million power. Okay, so 385, and I can migrate to any kingdom I want. Now, in Rise of Kingdoms, you would actually need to max purchase this bundle 3 times in order to get to where you're going. So comparatively, this is obviously a lot cheaper than Rise of Kingdoms, although still a very pretty penny. So you're gonna wanna find a really good group to be with and stay with them for a long time. And I think, based on my experience in Rise of Kingdoms, the advantage of making it difficult to go places is that people have a lot of incentive to work together. The downside is that you really have to choose wisely. And I've had to migrate a whole bunch of times on my main account to go to places that I wanted to be at. So I have max purchased that bundle more than a lot of people probably have. So as you're picking a kingdom and as people are looking for kingdoms, maybe we just ask for a little guidance. You've probably seen some things as an R5, right? Like I've done hiring outside of, gaming. You see all kinds of things in applications. Like, what would you expect an applicant to be doing? Just in general, not even if they're applying to us, but like applying anywhere. Like what should someone do if they want to, join an alliance?
Yeah, so I mean, there are a couple things. From the person applying side, you want to make sure you're finding a server that fits kind of what you're looking for. So obviously someone who's free to play and doesn't like to spend as much time on the game probably shouldn't be applying for maybe some of the bigger alliances out there that are going to focus crazy activity, crazy power. So I think the first thing is you got to find a kingdom that matches what you're looking for. And from there, it's really going to be dependent kind of on what that kingdom asks of you. But a couple things that I think everyone can look at is you'll look at your power, obviously. It may be something where if you're a lower power, but you've been stockpiling years and years of speed ups for a big push, you make sure that they're aware of that so that you're letting them know the full picture of what you could be for power wise. We're obviously going to be looking at your most recent season's merits if we can. We want to see how you performed in the immediate past, and then we'll probably be looking at kills and deaths, and that kind of gives us that initial story. And then once you've got an initial story of if an applicant seems like they might be the right fit or not, that's when you might ask them a question. You might ask, hey, why do you have 50 million more deads than you do kills, or deaths than kills, or units healed? And we'll look at your units healed, and if you tell us you've been fighting only T5s as a T4, but you've still been fighting, maybe that helps bridge the gap. But I really think focusing on your activity from a merits perspective, merit farming, making sure that you're making yourself look as attractive as you can. And then once you've got your foot in the door, then you can explain, hey, I'm someone who plays X amount of hours a day. I'm always there for PvE events. But you got to get your foot in the door before you can try and tell them anything else outside of what you can see.
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially to start that conversation, you're going to go to the alliance board, figure out who the point of contact is, and then try to like fire something up. That sound right?
Yeah. I mean, we've got recruitment team in BDO that does a great job passing along information, and we've had plenty of people who will reach out, fire along some of their initial info, saying like, hey, here's my power, here's my troops healed, troops killed, a little bit about myself, I'm interested in joining. And usually at that point, it fires up the combo with them. If they think they could be a potentially good fit, bring it to a little bit broader of a team to discuss. But yeah, you got to take some initiative sometimes, especially if you really want to go for some of these larger alliances.
So now in the background, while we've been talking, I just sort of zoomed out and I looked at the world map and I just started looking for action. And it's so nice that you can like find behemoth fights and combat just like so easily. So I just like very, very rapidly found some behemoths to spectate. But what is the path to actually finding a kingdom that you might want to apply to? Right? Like if I zoom all the way out and I go to the server list, like there's a ton of servers. How do I know? In general, like, should someone just be like looking to see who owned the dragon at the end of the season and be like, yeah, I'll go there. They own the dragon. They might be decent. As an applicant, like, how do you figure out where you're going?
So there's a couple different ways to do it. For those of you who are in the official COD Discord, they have a recruitment section that, as we're getting now into this global recruitment, I'm sure is going to be used more and more for different alliances and servers that are trying to basically let everyone know that they're recruiting. That'll be a great place to see the groups that have been actively reaching out and saying like, yo, we're on the lookout, we want more people. I think that's a great way is to check who owns the dragon. Is usually a pretty decent indicator that, hey, this alliance has got something going for them. It might be worth reaching out. And as we kind of get into the pre-war section, when you look at the server overview now, and you can check it out with some of the older servers like Tamara Season 1 and Belleron Season 1, you can actually see the individual server list as well as what their status is. And so when you're looking for servers to join, you can just start perusing through some of these servers that are maybe orange or yellow, showing that they've got some life, they've got some activity. You can go check out servers one by one is another great way to look at individual servers.
So the pre-war list, that's an interesting point about the green, yellow, orange and red designation. I mean, do you want to go to a more crowded server generally? Is that a reflection of activity? Maybe avoid the green ones because that might represent low volume of players?
Yeah,
I guess.
We know that there's a combination of factors. And so what we know for sure is that a server that is going to be yellow, that is going to be orange, is likely going to have more activity or more power or some combination of the two there. So it's a great place to start your search. Maybe once you've gone into a seasoned server, you've seen like, hey, these are the 5 servers in here. This is the one that's got the dragon. You can pop over to the pre-war servers or other things like that. But I think that status is kind of like a gut check indicator. Like, where do we stand?
Interesting. And if I go to my own profile here, let's see here. I can look at my division. And I look at my server. I can. So I look at my division. I see that we are crowded. We are orange. We are not full. That status is the same globally as it is in our server division, right?
Right.
Should be identical. Okay, cool. Cool. Very interesting. Okay. So probably the best way to find a place to migrate is going to be a combination of things, right? Like maybe you find them in the Rise of Kingdoms Discord and then you go scope them out in game. You see how full they are to decide like, hey, what am I really getting into? You talk to their leadership, presumably by looking at their alliance board, it'll have something to say. But I mean, in a worst case, you message the R5 in game, I suppose, right? Any other tips or sort of tricks for how people approach this?
No, I mean, really, you got to look at it, and it can help to look at it from both perspectives. So you're trying to convince an alliance, you're trying to convince an R5 that, hey, I'm going to be a good addition to the team. And then you also, from our perspective, we want people that we feel are going to be beneficial to us, whether that's people that we know are going to actively engage in the community as well as being part of the alliance. It's not always going to be a one-trick pony for everyone. Some alliances are going to value certain things over the others, but I would generally say that if you're really trying to make an impression and you're really trying to go for a big alliance, then you have to consider if it's worth burning maybe speed ups that you have stockpiled to train more troops, finish some tech, make yourself look that much better to the alliance that you're applying to, because that's another way you can make yourself stand out. If you're in a crowd of 60 millions as a 60 million and you push to 75 and say like, look, I pushed here to get ready for this migration, that's a way you can help yourself stand out. But it's finding an alliance that's going to fit the best for you and making sure that you've put yourself in a position, whether that's merits, whether that's your fighting, whether that's your heroes, the information that you can give to recruiters to let them know that you're going to be a beneficial member and a positive contributor to the alliance that you want to join.
Awesome. So a bunch of really valuable guidance there. I'll also add your tip from earlier to make sure you get the weekly passports and that over time you're sort of accumulating some amount of passports. I think the reality is that in this style of game, at some point, most people will end up migrating. That's the case in Rise of Kingdoms. We're moving more to a kingdom-based model. If we could learn anything from that, it's probably going to be the case. So stock up some of those passports while you can, make your account more attractive. And I think at the end of the day, you're right that being active in general is the best way to present yourself and be attractive to potential alliances and kingdoms that you might ultimately want to join. I am really eager to see how this whole thing is going to shake out as I'm sort of spectating. I'm waiting for these guys to start their Hydra attempt here. But I think that in a matter of a week or so, we'll see how this global migration works out. This sort of red, orange, yellow, green status is like a little mysterious to me. So I'll be sort of curious to learn a little bit more, sort of what those boundaries kind of look like. We know in Rise of Kingdoms, they had an Imperium system where kingdoms that were in a certain power bracket and the top kingdoms by power were limited in their migration. There's nothing like that here, right?
Not currently. You could call the server capacity, the red, yellow, orange, green system kind of a soft Imperium, and that you could say that the red servers are the quasi Imperiums right now. But there's no official name to it. We don't get a fancy little star icon. We're just full. So that's about the only thing we've got right now, similar to the Imperium system.
Got it. Dude, there is someone who had to rename themselves here, and it is very funny. I think they made a mistake on the Hydra, and now their name reflects that. That is funny. You'll see it in the video, Volty. It's going to be funny when you get there. We've done that before. We're like, hey, if you mess this up, you're going to have to rename. Yeah. You don't know how to play the game. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, throw a like on here, subscribe to the channel. You're not going to want to miss the results of the migration, which I'll probably do a follow-up video to talk about that, talk a little bit more about what our strategy was for that for now. I don't think it makes any sense to kind of boast about a thing that we don't actually know how it's going to work exactly. I mean, we kind of do, but like, we'll see. Once it's all dust settled, we'll do an update video. We're currently 16 billion. Where will we be after migration? Guess we'll find out. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And if you're looking for a video about end of season pet rewards, click the card right over here. I feel like I was pretty helpful in that video, so go check that one out.